What's up, party people? Welcome to another episode of the Agents of Rage, episode 26, and the first since we have got back from Hell's Heroes. My name is Ren. This is TD. How you doing, buddy? It's been a couple weeks since the festival. I'm sad it's over because it went by really fast, you know?
It did. It was weird. It was because we were there. It was 4 days, but felt like 2. But it was. I think it was the best festival we've ever been to. Part of it is that we know now how to coordinate the whole process.
Yeah.
But you also need some a good run festival to go with our coordination, and it was great, man. It was fun. The whole thing was awesome.
Yeah, everything just lined up, man. The stars, and the planets just lined up. Great weather, met cool people. They didn't oversell the festival, so we had plenty of room to get around. VIP was run very well. They had dinner in there for us every night. I mean, it was really top-notch. The merch stuff was really cool and unique, and just a great vibe. So, what we're doing today is we're going to get into the final day of Hell's Heroes, which was the Saturday shows. Really great day, so stick around because I've got video to share from Hellripper, Primordial, Zemial, Goatwhore, SA Slayer, Coroner, and Zemial. We have both seen Saxon on a few occasions, so we ducked out before the final performance because after 3 full days and a pre-party on Wednesday night, we were tuckered out. You know what I'm saying, TD? You could have stuck a fork in us because we were done.
I was like, dude, I can't go to the airport early with you. I've got to sleep, man. And the only bad weather we had was after you left for the airport. It started getting humid and dark, and the rain was coming. So for only 1 hour of our trip was it bad. I mean, it was. We just got out. It was perfect weather.
Yeah, no, it really was. Now, before we get into the bands, as far as the final day experience, because the last show we did, we were heading on our way to the final day. We were recapping kind of the first 2.5 days when you include Wednesday night also. How do you think the Saturday experience was compared to the other days?
I thought they were all pretty equivalent. The one thing went to dinner with a friend of mine last night. And I was telling her that they had good food at the VIP, and we've never experienced that before. I think the combination of every day was well run. I don't think there was a hiccup the whole time. It was a great festival. I would consider going there if we only did one next year. I'd consider doing that one again. Just because it's so well run,
Yeah, we'll have to see what Hell's Heroes 8 has to offer, but for sure, it's interesting too. There's a lot more. I don't know if I'm just discovering them now, or they are creating more and more festivals, over the past couple of years, because I'm seeing more and more. I'm like, well, I never heard of that, and I'm finding more and more. So it'll be interesting to see how the festival scene grows, especially in the metal community. Now, if you want to weigh in on what you think was the best day of music, maybe you were there, or maybe you just looked at the lineup and you like certain bands that were playing on certain days, or you watched, our previous episodes. I would advise you to check out episode 25, because that one we did in Houston. You could see some of the performances there. We went right into it. But what we're doing in this show is we're going to get into day 3, which for us started with Hellripper. Now, I am so angry that I didn't talk about them and kind of preview them when we did the show, episode 24, when we were talking about our Hell's Hero Day 3 preview. I just forgot. They were on, my most anticipated list. I went through yours and I forgot that they were on mine that weren't on yours. But it's interesting because when you talk about Hellripper, and I really found this out after the fact when I was kind of prepping for this show, it's actually just one person. Hellripper is one person. Even though there was a band there that we saw, Hellripper is one guy, and that's the singer, the guy who was the most active. So they hail from Scotland. They are a one-man black speed metal project formed by this guy, James McBain. He's the lead singer, who you're going to see here in a second. And they formed in 2014 they've got he has 3 full-length albums under his belt: Coagulating Darkness in 2017, The Affair of the Poisons that came out in 2020, and Warlock's Grim and Withered Hags that came out in 2023. So Hellripper is a non-stop band. It's like a fusion of black metal ferocity, thrash metal speed, and this year's Hell's Heroes, which we learned marked their first ever appearance in the United States, which I thought was cool. And he did not disappoint. And again, he brings a live band with him, and they were, intense, and maybe they are becoming more and more the band. I don't know how it works. All I know is it was one guy. So we want to ask you to brace yourselves here, because we're going to get a medley of some high octane tracks. So Hell's Rock and Roll, Demdike in League with the Devil, The Affair of the Poisons, The Hanging Tree, and Headless Angels. So let's go ahead and get into some Hellripper here to start out our episode 26 of Agents of Rage. Check this out.
Good stuff, man. That was a great set, and it's cool. It's cool that that's the first time they played in the U.S. and then we got to see them on that. That was pretty sweet.
No, it was sweet. You know, I bought a shirt and I wore it to the Warbringer show, and it was interesting. You know, I got some like first thing that people were like, whoa, what is that? Like, you know, and I was explaining to who they are, and they were like, oh man, that's great. And then even the guy who was running the Allegiant table was like, oh man, I'm gonna look them up. You know, I was talking to him about hellsheroes and stuff, and everybody's really generally interested. And yeah, man, I mean, again, that's like, you know, that's like in that toxic Holocaust kind of vein of music, kind of like ghoulish singing style, but just, you know, pedal to the metal, you know, let's go, and you're just gonna get fast music, and that's who they are, or that's who he is. And it's interesting because Toxic Holocaust really is just one guy too.
Right.
It's just the singer and the guitarist. So it's kind of interesting that, you know, some of these quote unquote speed metal bands, or whatever you want to label them now, you know, are kind of individuals, and then they get their hired hands and then they go out and perform.
Yeah, I know. Good stuff. It's cool.
Yeah, it is good stuff. So hopefully Hellripper is going to come back to the States. I know they will. And he got crazy. I'm going to show, so I made a short from the first song they did, which is kind of their hit. And well, whatever, you know.
When you say hit, I think of Casey Kasem.
Yeah, right. It's the one that anybody who knows Hellripper probably knows. But also, it was cool. Like, he jumped into the crowd at the end and totally like bashed beer all over himself, and yeah, it was pretty sweet. So anyway, they're a good band to check out. Check out Hellripper. They've got lots of music out. You know, if you liked what you just saw, you know, they stay consistent to everything that they have put out so far, and that's what you get. So next up, we have the legendary Irish metal band Primordial. Now, we did not talk about Primordial leading up to this. They didn't hit our top fives in our most anticipated. However, this was a group that we checked out. They were formed, and I was like, well, I got a song. I put one song on the show. Let's give, you know, those who might be Primordial fans, because they've been around since 1992. They're you know, from Dublin. And this is what was so cool about this festival, is there were bands from, you know, so many different parts of the world, that was amazing, and that was cool that they would all come together. It's unfortunate that, you know, bands like Onslaught and who else? I know. Savage. Oh, the other Nasty Savage, right? Oh no, not Nasty Savage.
They were on there. It was
who was the other band that couldn't make it? I can't remember.
They were on our list.
Well, you had one. What was it? Exciter?
Oh, Exciter. Yeah, I don't even remember them mentioning what happened, but they weren't there.
Yeah, they couldn't show up. Oh, Blood Ceremony. That was the other one we wanted to see that had, you know, whatever issues. But, you know, I mean, Hellripper got here from Scotland. Primordial got here from Ireland. So I don't know what the passport issues were, but they weren't able to perform. But Primordial has really kind of carved a unique niche in like their metal kind of music. It's kind of like Celtic folk and black metal combined, but they have 10 studio albums to their name, including their latest release, which is called How It Ends in 2023. And it's really kind of like an epic soundscape that they kind of create, and not always like my fare, but it was cool to watch them live. So let's dive into the powerful performance of To Hell or the Hangman.
Now say after me, say, hang him, hang him. Hang him high! Place years in your heart.
and that was the view from the VIP.
Yeah.
So you'll see some clips that we have that were the view from the VIP. It was a great kind of vantage point where we could just kind of be above everybody and get right there. And, it was close to the bar. It was awesome.
That was the best VIP I think we've ever had. I was telling
Yes.
Taylani.
That's unquestioned.
That it was perfect. You got shade, you got a seat, and there was always a seat. You got the bar right there. It was like, being in your couch in your living room watching the football game, minus all the other humans. So it's pretty cool.
No, very cool. Bathroom was right there too, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And I would say also that, and again, one of the unique things about this is the variety of the music we were getting. So you see one band and then another one comes on and it's completely different. So that's what kind of makes this one more unique than some of the other festivals that we've seen, at least of the past few years. Now we're going to delve into the underground with Greece's own Zemial. We jumped in to inside because remember this was an inside-outside festival, so we jumped in and just caught a couple of songs from them. But once I was listening, it was really cool. And number one, I was excited because the drummer is the singer, which is so rare that you see, and so that was cool. But this is a band that was formed in Athens in 1989 by the multi-instrumentalist, I think his name is Vorskath. And Zemial has been a formidable force in the metal scene for over 3 decades. Musical journey spans from raw black thrash and epic heavy metal to progressive rock and avant-garde soundscapes. So they have an album collection with standout albums like From the Glory of You Are from 96, In Momentum from 2006, and Nikita from 2013. So if you want to check them out, if you like what you're going to hear, those are 3 that are kind of the most praised. Now, Zemial continues to push the boundaries of metal, so let's immerse ourselves in their haunting performance of Nocturnal Witch. So there you go. A little 3-piece action there by Zemial.
Yeah, that was good. I like the upstairs of the VIP, even though it got packed a lot of times and it was hard to see, when the lights are off. But you got a great angle, man. It was good. I can't think of anything negative about this festival. Every festival has at least one thing like, I'd probably do this differently. I don't know. I can't think of one. It all was pretty cool.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so now we're going to get ready for the relentless onslaught of New Orleans' own Goatwhore. Founded in 1997, these blackened death metal titans have unleashed 8 studio albums to date. So at hellsheroes, they took us back to their ferocious beginnings, focusing their set on their debut album, The Eclipse of Ages into Black. That was from 2000. They were celebrating 25 years of that album and did a lot of it on stage. We'll give you just a taste of that first album and a little taste of Goatwhore. We went up close and personal again. So brace yourselves for the blistering performance of Satan's Millennium. There you go.
Goatwhore is great. They're very active. You know, of all the bands on the at this festival, they might be one of the most active of all. I think I've seen them 5 or 6 times, but they come around touring pretty frequently.
Yeah, 100%. They are a live band, and they their last album, I think it came out in 24. I want to say, really good, and they've stayed consistent to kind of who they are and their sound. But yeah, they get on those like Chaos and Carnage tours and things like that, where you're seeing all kinds of the Carnifex and Deicides of the world. Cradle of Filth and all that stuff, man. All that just down and dirty, metal that you can see. And Goatwhore is still going strong, and again, a different kind of vibe for what the festival was doing, and but it was cool. Again, you get a little bit of everything, including where we're going next, which was really a great moment, especially for us and in heavy metal history. San Antonio's own S.A. Slayer, legendary heavy power metal band formed in '82, reuniting after like 40 years for this performance at Hell's Heroes. I think they've done one other like a couple years ago or something like that. But this is a group that is, just kind of known for their dark, heavy style of speed metal, touches kind of early thrash reminiscent of Merciful Fate. You could tell some of the influences. Venom, I think, another one that S.A. Slayer you could compare them to. Hey man, this took us back to the golden era of metal, when we get a chance to hear this kind of stuff. And so let's dive into, I got 2 here. We'll dive into a little mashup of If You Want Evil and Ride of the Horsemen. So let's check this out.
Yeah.
Take my hand there, I'll bring you down. Thoughts inside your mind are spinning round and round. Live how you want to live, like fools, no guarantees. With the devil with evil, he comes to me. Look out!
Dude, that was awesome, and the story behind them is cool too. And but this is one more example of this festival where bands that there's more bands in this festival that I've never seen ever and may never see again. They really put together a very unique lineup. They've put a lot of thought into this. It's easy to pick all these bands that tour all the time, but to pick these bands and a bunch of them, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no doubt. And, and still hitting those high notes, So that was cool. It was
big time.
Dude's getting it done. And yeah, it was really cool. Of course, for those, we talked about it in the previous show, but or in the lead up to Hell's Heroes, SA, there was the Battle of the Name Slayer. Who had it first? Was it the SA Slayer, or was it Slayer from LA? And yeah, I think obviously Slayer from LA won out than the guys from Texas. But yeah, I imagine if that festival's not in Texas, they probably don't go. But I don't know. But the fact that they did was great, and we went back up to the VIP because we just wanted to chill, soak it in, and that's what we did. And it was great. And it was great. Again, just one after another, just getting a chance to just really enjoy some really cool music. And again, like you said, seeing bands that, bucket list bands, you're never going to see them most likely again, unless maybe it's at another Hell's Heroes. Like they had such a good time and we go back. So we'll see. Next up for us, we prepared for the, and again, people, we're not showing every band. There were many bands. We took breaks. We have to do that. We wanted to see, we want to, eat, we want to see merch, we want to talk to people. But we wanted to make sure that we were up front and ready to go for the technical metal from Switzerland's own Coroner. Formed in Zurich in 1983, they quickly gained recognition for their blend of thrash, progressive, and just different styles of metal with a discography that includes 5 studio albums: R.I.P. 1987, Punishment for Decadence in 88, No More Color in 89, Mental Vortex 91, Grin 93, and they have just solidified their status as pioneers of technical thrash. So after a hiatus, Coroner reunited in 2010 and have been just kind of going at it and touring and just, doing really good stuff. And so we're going to dive into a triple shot from Coroner here. Semtex Revolution, Sacrificial Lamb, and Grin Nails Hurt from Coroner. I love the title of these songs. They're always amazing. Let's get into it.
that's the, I think Coroner's the one band, not including Saxon, but probably the one band on this festival that I actually was into when they first came out in the 80s.
Right.
Because they pumped, like you just said earlier, they pumped out album, so that they had that momentum.
Yep.
And then they, whatever, disbanded, broke up, or took a break, whatever. But I clearly remember following them when they first came out.
Yeah, I bought a zip up from them. Again, classic logo. I mean, obviously the RIP album we had talked about, like, how cool that was. When you're in the record store in 1987, you see that, you're like, oh my God, I'm in, dude. Coroner, like, yes.
They got to be good for that name.
Yeah, exactly. Because that was really around the time, again, we were, 17, 18, whatever, and that was when the music really exploded.
Big time.
Yeah. Like the hair metal kind of had its moment. And some of the bigger hair metal bands were still going, but like the more just, down and dirty metal, whether it was, on the thrash side or whether it was on, this more traditional technical side.
Yeah.
Man, it was just an explosion of great music, and it was great to hear them. And again, I hope they continue to tour. I would love to go see a full set of theirs, with the thing. So we'll see what Coroner does and see if they come to our neck of the woods or your neck of the woods. All right. So as you have to understand, when TD and I are at a festival, we tend to enjoy ourselves. We tend to have some libations and we relax and we enjoy and we enjoy ourselves. And, at some point, we're going to start fading. Let's put it that way. We're not 25 anymore.
No.
So, we're gonna get. So we stayed for one more. We wanted to see some Zemial, and we did. And I've got one. It's funny. I recorded a couple clips for this. The second one is like just keeps jumping out of focus. I have no idea why, except I was probably jumping in and out of focus. So I guess that is kind of partly to what was happening there. But the important thing is we've got just one here, and these another band that are Swiss, Zemial, formed in '87. We just referenced that year in Sion, Switzerland, and we talked about them a little bit when we did our lead up, talking about our most anticipated. And they've kind of evolved. They were very black metal, kind of went into that industrial thing that everybody was doing in the 90s, and then back to black metal. And so 3 decades of music, really, Zemial's been putting out. If you've never heard of them, Ceremony of Opposites, which is really what they played for the entire set. That was from 1994. But if you want to check out an album like Passage from 1996 and Hegemony from 2017, they've actually got some pretty good music that they put out just within the last 7-8 years. They're always pushing the boundaries, and they treated us to a special set that was, entirely on that groundbreaking album, Ceremony of Opposites. And so we're going to dive into the how they opened it up, and that is the track, and it's the opening track on Ceremony of Opposites called Black Trip. So check this out. And I actually played a version of it when we did when we were talking about Zemial in the lead up. So here's them live doing the same song. You know, it was
Nice.
really interesting. Really interesting. Their keyboardist was playing the keyboard, and then he would jump on the drums right next to him and start pounding and going crazy. It was interesting. So they almost had like I guess, a drum track. I mean, I didn't see the drummer who was playing the whole time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was an interesting way to do it. But like they do in Europe, man, especially with like something like a Rammstein or whatever. They're very theatrical.
Yes. Yeah.
They put on a show, like you could tell. Zemial is a band that does the European festivals, gets at Donington, and everything starts raining down, and they just really get into it and want to put on a really cool show.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Again, a band I had not heard of before. We saw the lineup, and then an opportunity, and when I saw that they were going to focus a lot on this album, I was like, well, let me kind of deep dive this and really listen to it. And I'll tell you, and they've got different music over the years. Remember, you had picked, I think it was a song called Rain that you had picked when we did our lead up show, our most anticipated, which was totally different than what we just heard. So it was cool. They kind of changed their sound, and I dig bands that do that too, that will come into an album and they're going to take us on a journey that might be different from the style of music and how they presented it before. So it's kind of cool, and they're one of those bands, and again, it was a kind of a perfect way for us to end it, and just getting an opportunity to see all these variety of styles and bands, again, frankly, we'd never heard of, that we now enjoy, and they're part of 100%. Our lexicon.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting. Do you have any? Okay, so we're wrapping up our Hell's Heroes experience. Anything else that you want to say with reference to the festival experience as a whole before we kind of put a thing up?
I was talking to my friend Kaylani. We had dinner last night. Been friends for a long time. She's a super unique person. She's Filipino, so she loves Death Angel because originally we're all Filipinos.
That's right.
But she's very eclectic. Like me, I'm more kind of narrow-minded with music. But we've been to tons.
No, you're not. But I understand what you're saying. You mean with outside of the metal genre?
Yeah.
Explorative,
so
maybe.
We've been to tons of metal shows together, and the Death Angel annual Christmas shows. But I was telling her because I hadn't seen her since the festival. I was telling her about just going to the food provided for VIP, the not oversold, you could get a great view from anywhere. I just thought the whole experience was awesome, and then it's kind of, but how inexpensive it was to Uber everywhere was pretty cool too, and you could hear the music from our Airbnb, and so, and then the weather was amazing. I feel like everything aligned perfectly, and it was a great, best festival ever. People were super nice. We met a bunch of cool people that are now friends of ours on the socials, and we saw them every day. It was just different than any other festival we've been to.
No, I agree, man. And again, at our age, not to date ourselves, but you probably can figure out, it's kind of nice when you're just not jammed in there. You want to go take a break. There's a place you can go to the VIP, which is what you pay for, to sit down and relax. And it was air conditioned in there, and you chill out, and inside the part, and then obviously the viewing area. They just did everything first class, and it was what I really liked and was different is that you'd be outside, and then you can go inside. Watch a band inside, and you get that full kind of arena experience, on a very small level, but good enough that it can accommodate a lot of people. Do you know that Satan singer was doing the same thing he did when we saw them at the pre-party on Wednesday? But when they performed on Thursday, the next day, because we came later, totally chastising the audience. I was watching another guy's video, and you could see like some person who was standing next to him, like, "We pay you to be here. Shut up." You know, whatever.
That's great. Yeah,
He's
he's being a bit of a bitch on that for sure. Dude, people crowd surf, and there's mosh pits. That's metal 101, bro. It's like, come on now. If you don't want that stuff, then play. Be in a Neil Diamond cover band. You know, if you want
don't be named Satan. Your name is Satan,
dude.
You're
bro,
playing at Hell's Heroes,
right? Don't act now. You're all of a sudden you're wimpy. Come on, bro.
You actually have the name of Satan. You were able to garner that name over everybody else,
and you're acting super soft. Come on, man.
That's fun. Now, I will say on a positive note, their music was cool. We did enjoy
totally,
that.
100%.
Yeah, they play a cool style of music, and that was we saw them at the pre-party on Wednesday night. And you saw a clip maybe if you watched episode 25. And I've got another short that I put one up, but I've got another one that will come up. Let me before we finish up here, we're wrapping up. Let me give you my thoughts real quickly on the Warbringer show, which I just saw a few days ago, which was April 1st. We're recording this on April 3rd. What an amazing group of bands. I love when these labels, and I think this was a Napalm, joint, because I think that's what the guy told me. And again, Napalm Records, man, I think a lot of what they're doing is a lot of what I'm digging on. So I am down with the bands that they are signing and the music that's coming out of that label. From Summoning the Lich, which is kind of a fantasy, black, black metal kind of, definitely death metal vibe, was really, really cool. And they were great. And then going into the super traditional death metal of Skeletal Remains, who, you've seen and just, what you're going to get. And they've got the fog blasting in their face. And it was really cool. And then moving on to Allegiant, who, I've never seen. And, the guy's got like an 8-string guitar that he's playing, the lead guitarist, and just killing it. And the lead singer was super cool. He looked like that MMA fighter, like what's his name, from Ireland, I don't know, I can't think of his name right now. I'm not a big MMA guy, but you know what I'm talking about? Like the guy who's like the redhead. He was in like the movie. Anyway, you guys know.
Redhead, I think a Carrot Top, so don't use redhead.
Yeah, I know. Well, whatever. I just can't think of his name right now. But he looked like him, but he was super cool. And then, of course, Warbringer, every time, bringing it.
Definitely.
And it's really interesting and really, really cool. And I will say that the Warbringer promoter or whoever was at their merch table, because he travels with them and he has for years, he said that they'd be open. He thinks they'd be open to coming on our show. So that'd be
freaking great, bro.
No, exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out and say, hey, we're going to do a show that's going to have that whole, we're going to have, because if you take video or Brent or whoever, and then if Special Agent Woody or
right.
and I have some, obviously I have a lot, obviously. We'll share that. Maybe they'll come on. So we'll see. But before we wrap up, and this is kind of fun to do on occasion, we'll get into a little bit of some metal news that's happening. There's always stuff happening in the metal world, and I always like to get your opinion on things. But Jessica De Fauci or whatever, she's out of Crypta. She left.
I saw that. And now, is that the gal you connected with from LA?
No.
Okay,
so the girl from LA was filling in for Nervosa.
Oh, okay.
Right,
I get confused.
Which obviously has the tie to Crypta. But I think it was their lead guitarist that has now left the band, which is, in fact, she jumped on stage with Tool recently.
Interesting.
Which is interesting. So anyway, I know you like the Brazilian metal.
I have a soft spot for them. Fernanda Lira specifically.
Right, exacty. So, but anyway, we'll see. That was some interesting news. Again, one of the like warriors, when we talk about like warrior bands who are there every day, Lamb of God, right? You can always depend on them. going back on the road. And it's really interesting. They're headlining some shows in July and September. I don't know if they come to our area, which is unfortunate.
I don't think so.
But they've got a variety of opening acts. This is so cool. And this is what makes Lamb of God so awesome, because they do like the Headbangers Boat and things like that. So they have so many relationships with bands out there. They're in July, they're in Springfield, Massachusetts for a date. Hatebreed and Shadows Fall opening up.
Wow.
Awesome. Then they have another July date in Richmond, Virginia, and it's with Hatebreed and Goatwhore.
Yeah, that's their hometown. That would be a freaking great that would be so up here in the Bay Area. When anytime Testament plays, usually if they're not the headliner, they still have home field advantage, and just the shows is freaking amazing. So I'm sure that one down there is freaking amazing too.
Then in September, they're going to Minnesota, and they're with Body Count and Harm's Way. Freaking awesome. 5 days later, they're in Oklahoma with Power Trip and Frozen Soul.
Wow.
Which is awesome. Then 2 days later, they're in Hammond, Indiana with Cavalera and Power Trip.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting about that one too, that one in Hammond, Indiana, they have an amazing amphitheater that's literally on the shores of Lake Michigan.
Ooh, that's pretty
right
cool.
There. You've got the lake right behind you and everything.
Yeah.
And it's basically a 3.5 hour drive for me to get to Hammond from Detroit, but that would be a good time. And to see Lamb of God, Cavalera, and Power Trip all in one show, dude. Yeah. And it's connected to a casino. So there you go.
Bro, we can expense that with the company money. I approve that. Since I'm 50% of the approval.
That's right. You are. All right. I like that. Now, Mastodon not slowing down despite Brett Hines leaving the band. They're set to tour with All Shall Perish and Dead Heat for all of May, most of June. And they're also working on their first record without Hines. So Mastodon, regardless of what's going on with them, they're not slowing down. And then they're going to Europe like all summer. They're going to be there. So that's pretty crazy. But let's get into the Agents of Rage socials. What's happening on Facebook and Instagram? I know I owe you some photos, but what else?
That's okay, because on Facebook we're up to over 2,500 followers, and then Instagram we're like 272, I think. But we picked up a lot, and it was pretty cool because from being at Hell's Heroes, we ended up, there were a lot of people like, are seeing our posts and liking us, and so it's pretty cool. That was just such a great festival. I think it was absolutely the best that we've ever been to, and it's funny because I was looking at this random on your phone you get these photos, or like
yeah.
So there was one from 2017 when we went to Chicago Open Air. And it was me and a picture of Ricky Rackman, who couldn't be.
I took that picture.
Yes, and he couldn't be more or less interested in meeting me.
I know.
But
I didn't even want one.
That was our first one, and so it was pretty cool. And so it just reminded me of just where we started with and this was having a podcast was never where our that was just something
we didn't even know each other. We met.
No, I know, totally. Well, like I don't even fucking know this guy, so
yeah,
and it just evolved into this, and it's so I saw that yesterday, and I was like, man, we've come a long ways, and but even at that particular one, it was funny because we stayed at
the Drake,
the Drake, so we paid
going down at the Drake.
We paid the guy who drove the shuttle to take us to a 7-Eleven or something to get us some more booze. He's like, all right. So
yeah.
That's where it all began. And it's been a pretty cool ride. This was never our goal, but we ended up here. And really at the end of the day, we're just two guys having fun. This isn't our career. We don't make any money off this.
No.
We're just having fun, like sharing our experiences with people who understand our experiences. So Here we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's only going to get better, and it's only going to grow. And again, when you do something that you love, at the end of the
drink.
day,
Sorry.
people are going to appreciate it. What?
The
Oh,
drink.
totally good girl. Oh, yeah, sorry.
That was our
All right.
first. The drink.
YouTube is doing good thanks to the shorts. So
Yeah.
as of April 3rd, 83 subscribers. The gamma size short that I put up just 2 days ago is almost at 1,000 views. It's like a few
crazy.
short. So
Yeah.
that's crazy. And again, that was a great reunion show for a band that was just like S.A. Slayer, just a band that was in the 80s. Liege Lord, another band that was just in the 80s and they vanished. Hyrax is also on the verge of breaking 1,000
Great.
views, which
Yeah.
is cool. And we had a great time seeing them. I've got shorts up right now from a bunch of Hell's Heroes bands and different songs than what you heard on the past couple shows. So what you hear, the shorts that I do are different songs. So I still have a lot more to post. I loaded up a clip from all 4 bands of the Warbringer show. So you get a Summoning the Lich and a Legion, a Skeletal Remains, and a Warbringer clip now. I've got a lot more from those bands that will go up too. Again, excited about growing our channels, and I know our Instagram is doing well. But I think that's our show, bro. What do you think?
We forgot to talk about the shirts.
We did. So mention it. So I'm wearing the Hell's Hero shirt that they gave us as being a VIP member. What do you got? I know you got a shirt that you bought.
I wore Hell's Heroes last night with dinner with Taylani, but
Got it.
I bought.
You got to stand
hold
up.
on. Before I stand up,
Okay.
I haven't worn this yet because I'm afraid of spilling something on it and staining it. But
Ooh,
yeah, Raven.
there it is.
And Raven had a few shirts, but this was a cool one. I really wanted.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Well, you enjoy Warbringer next week.
Yep.
I know you're going to have a great time.
April
We'll have
11th.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, hopefully we can get some Warbringer participation in the show. There's some things coming up, so we just got to keep jamming and do that. I've got one last thing to reveal, so check this out. There it is.
Oh.
There it is.
Our
The
business card.
Agents of Rage business card. Official. I forgot to bring it to Warbringer. I was so disappointed in myself that I forgot to bring these because it would have been perfect. I started talking to, like, for instance, a Legion, and I was like, hey, can you guys do a shout out, whatever? And I was trying to explain it. And they're like, well, it's kind of loud. And they were like, no, you cannot go. It doesn't matter. He's like, no, it does matter. The lead singer was like, it does matter. I want to do it. But it didn't happen. They all got their things going on. But when I can pass this out, and I'm going to send you a bunch of these.
Good.
I'm going to send you a big chunk. And, if you've got this, it's something that just, to give to somebody, and then they can instantly follow us. They don't have to, like, look on their phone or whatever. So anyway, it's kind of legit. It's kind of legit.
Yeah,
when
very
you make some
legit.
business
Cool
cards,
stuff.
Yeah. So I'm happy that we have that going, and that we'll be able to hopefully connect, because again, at some point it really would be great. And, I just haven't reached out, but I bet when we start reaching out to bands stuff, they'll come on the show.
I think so too. I'm looking.
Yeah,
forward
we
to
just
it.
got to kind of, we'll get ourselves to where we feel we have a bigger audience,
Yeah.
so that they feel it's not, just, us and a few guys hanging out in their basement or something.
Right.
All
I
right,
agree.
party people. Until next time, Ragers, get out to a show, support the metal community. But with that said, let's get out of here, and we will see